All right.
All right.
No, cancel it. Can't cancel. Yeah.
All right. And with that, we're off.
Woo!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the We the Locals podcast. My name is Josie.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Abby.
And we have Stu pushing buttons way over in the corner over there. And our guest tonight is Steve Avila. Hi, Steve. How are you?
Doing all right.
Awesome.
Thank you for
Hi,
having me today.
Steve.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Awesome. We'll get to more to Steve, hear from Steve in a few minutes. Just a couple of things. We want to thank our sponsor, Salvo, for sponsoring our podcast, keeping our lights turned on. Salvo is an app that you can use for if you are a candidate running for office, if you are a precinct committee person, a PAC, anybody who would like to touch the right voter at the right time with the right message. Salvo offers in-app offerings such as text messaging and emailing and mailers, all at best at in-market prices. It is a way that you can connect with voters to be able to track who you've spoken to. If you have apps such as MailChimp, and then you're using a text messaging app, and then you're using a different company to send out your mailers or whatever it may be, you have to keep track of who you've talked to or who you've touched all on your own. Salvo takes away all of that, does it all for you. You can keep track of every voter that you've contacted in any way whatsoever, whether that is by having a conversation with them, by sending them an email, sending them a text message, or sending them a mailer. This would have been really good for Andy Thompson, who sent my house 2 of the same mailers. Now, I know why he did it, because I am registered for a vote by mail. My husband is not. So I got my mailer when the vote by mails dropped. My husband got his mailer right before early voting starts. So I understand the concept behind it, but yet he still wasted the money by not canceling out our address and knowing that our address shouldn't have been and being touched that way as a voter and clearing the addresses. So Salvo would take care of that for you, so you're not spending extra money on things like that. So definitely, if you are interested in talking to Salvo and going through either a guided journey where you have someone walking you through the process, or you would like to do a DIY with whatever you would like to take, the components of Salvo that you would like to take, please reach out to them today at www.salvo.today. And all of our listeners get a free guided journey session with the team from Salvo. So thank you so much for your sponsorship. We really appreciate it. Keeps our lights on, keeps the mics on, keeps us in coffee. It's great.
Yep. Thank you, Ro.
All right. Thank you, Ro. And if you also would like to, if you're watching, please like and subscribe and share this episode as well as our channels. If you are on YouTube, please consider shooting us a super chat. If you are on Rumble, please consider shooting us a Rumble rant. That also helps keep our lights on. And if you are a business or a candidate and you would like to sponsor the show, please reach out to us through our website. We will be offering some candidate specials as we go into the more intense candidate season or cycle or election season right here as we get past municipals and go into the general time period. So if you are interested in that, let us know. And I think that's it from the housekeeping stuff. Did I miss anything?
No,
I feel like I might, because things of the week, and I apologize for our little rough entrance there. It's been an interesting night already, so we'll see where we go.
Technical
issues
in the beginning. I guess one of our cameras are blurry, so thank you for
it's cleared
those,
up
but,
now.
But
Yeah,
now
it's
it's
cleared
clear,
now. Oh,
so we
gosh.
should be okay. So
Woohoo! Live on air. This is what you get.
Sometimes live before you realize you are.
Yes. Yep. That too. So
it's all good.
Woohoo!
It's all good.
All right, what you got, Jess?
Couple things. Just want to remind everybody there is a few tickets left for Lincoln Day for the Palm Beach County REC. If you are interested, it is March 15th. You can email the chairman at palmbeach.gop if you are interested in purchasing tickets. Trump has confirmed being the speaker, so you will get to hear from President Trump,
Which means the tickets might sell pretty quick.
Yeah, there's a huge push. We're running out of tickets from what I understand. So it's going to be a great event, and so and it is held at Mar-a-Lago. So if you haven't had an opportunity to attend a Mar-a-Lago event and get to see Trump at home,
Double whammy.
Definitely reach out to the chairman for those tickets. Early voting starts this week on Saturday.
Woo! We're clapping.
Get ready to rumble.
So that's very interesting. So we have early polling sites. You can vote at any early polling sites in the county.
Yep.
And then day of is March 19th. Then you have to vote at your precinct. Exciting thing that we started 2 years ago was Party at the Polls. And so we have launched that again this year. It's going to be the 16th and 17th. And what's really awesome, instead of just doing it in the Boca area like we did 2 years ago, we're actually doing it throughout the county. So I'm very excited about that. You'll see hopefully some of those
Caribbeaners here.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a lot of Brazilians, particularly in the Boca area.
Quebecans.
Yeah, je me souviens, with the Quebecers who come down here. And I wanted to speak Spanish like an educated native speaker. And because I knew that one day I would be needing Spanish to connect with people. Although I was born here and my parents speak Spanish, we speak English at home. And it wasn't really until taking it in middle school and high school and college that I learned not only to speak it, but read it and write it at a high level. And then I thought, well, I like that. Let's do that in Portuguese. Let's do that in French. And then I lived
So are you fluent in all of them?
Yes, so I self-identify as C2 fluency in all three. And we're joking because I was asked about my age earlier. I said I self-identify as 28.
Which I do as well, for the record.
But I'm 34.
I'm not.
And at least for the purposes of this campaign, I'm starting to grow a little.
'Cause you wanna look a little-
Because I want people to take me more seriously.
Right.
I inherited my father's boyish looks, and so I look a little bit younger.
You do
than
look
I
young.
actually am,
Yes,
than
you
I
do
actually
look
am. And
Yeah,
my
I didn't actually
brothers-
think you were 34. I
My
thought you were in
brothers
your
have the
20s.
same thing going on.
Oh, well, that's good. And you have good genes.
You'll be good. It'll be good. When you're like 90, you'll be like, yeah.
And I got involved first really politically when I was in college.
Okay. Was your family, were you raised conservative?
No. So my family went back and forth. So my father was 18 in 1984, and so he voted for Reagan and then Bush in 88. By the time my mom became a citizen, so when my mother became a citizen and took her oath, I was actually in her womb.
Aw.
So she didn't get to vote for the first time until 92, and they both went for Clinton.
So
it
they
was
swung
Clinton,
pendulum.
Clinton, and then Gore in 2000. And then around that time, I'm in like middle school and high school, and I'm like, and then the 2004 election comes by, and I'm like, Bush, you're voting for Bush. And so they voted
What
for
made
Bush.
What made you have that?
Well, I was
when
14
Obama was like so.
Well,
2004. Yeah.
So that was Bush Kerry. For me, it was getting my first job at 14 and learning.
What was your first job?
I was working with my father in the warehouse.
What does he do?
My father's a warehouse manager.
Okay.
He never graduated from high school. Got a 9th grade degree, and it's blue collar work. And once you get that paycheck, it's like, wait, I'm sorry, what are all these taxes? And
Yep.
Where are they going to? Like, I just spent all this time in a warehouse, and this is where money goes. So from an early age, it was that, and it was also probably immigration for me because as the children of immigrants, my parents sponsored a lot of their family members, and that takes a lot of money and that takes a lot of time. And
When you do it legally.
when you do it legally, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember my parents, my Aunt Siapa, like she waited like 10 years for her husband, and her children to get here, and it was a lot of money. And I think it's a slap in the face when people say they want to come here to visit Disney World and overstay their visa, which is roughly roughly 3/5 of that of those who are here without status. That's how they originally got here. It's
On a
it's-
tourist
it's
visa,
on a
and then they
tourist
just stay.
visa. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that kind of opened my eyes to that from a different standpoint. And then of course it was from then it segued into foreign policy, which now within certain conservative circles, my views are a bit different. But that led me ultimately to study languages like Chinese and Russian, where I lived in China for 5 years and lived in the country of Georgia for about 8 months during COVID, where I studied Russian. So languages was always important to me, and foreign policy has become my more, in terms of federal politics, what I pay more attention to.
What'd you do in China?
So I'm part owner of a company based in Shanghai that does college admissions consulting. So essentially, I help students figure out which colleges they're going to apply to, figure out what activities they should be doing, really candidate building, essentially, helping to build their profiles. Most of our students are actually already at a school, but they want to apply to a higher ranking school. So we target specifically candidates who can get into a top 30 school. About 15% are in high school and applying as a first-year applicant, and about 5% are graduate applicants. But I've been doing that for about 7 years.
And that's what you do currently?
That's what I do currently, yeah. I mean, I lived in China for 5 years. COVID happened. Came back to the U.S.
So you were in China when
COVID
lockdowns.
started, yeah.
What was that like?
So I left China January 26th,
Okay.
2020. So it was just beginning. And
Did you leave because it was starting, or
Actually,
were you
no,
already like scheduled to leave?
No, I was scheduled to leave because it was Chinese New Year.
Oh,
And
okay.
every Chinese New Year I would go somewhere. And that year was a 2.5-week trip to the UK and Ireland. And so I'm in the UK and Ireland, and the situation in China is getting worse. And my parents are like, you should probably come back to Florida. And so I did. And for like 8 more months, while I still had a lease there, I was still paying my rent. And it was like, all right, well, the lease is up, and I'm probably not returning anytime soon. So I had to put my stuff in storage. And I still pay like $200 every 3 months just because I don't have the heart
To go get your stuff.
to get my stuff. Yeah, I haven't been to mainland China since I left, but I did go to Hong Kong in October for work. We met up at Hong Kong and had a team building and work related meetings. So I managed the U.S. operations for that. But speaking Chinese has opened a lot of doors
So you
for me.
speak Chinese.
Yeah, so actually I speak Mandarin and Cantonese,
Okay.
but my Mandarin is much better than my Cantonese. So
So that's
about
5 languages?
7. So it's
Ooh.
English,
It's like a
Spanish,
high school
Portuguese,
chemistry
French.
teacher.
So those
English, Spanish,
4
Portuguese,
are
French.
like
Right.
my high level ones. Then comes Mandarin. I passed the HSK5 exam back in 2019, which is the upper intermediate, lower advanced level. So I can like pick up a newspaper and get the gist of what's going on, or like watch a movie, or like give presentations in Mandarin, which I've done for work.
Wow.
Like I can be in a meeting with like a parent, for example, who doesn't speak English, or be in a sales meeting where I'm pitching our services. I lived in southern China though, where they speak Cantonese, but my Cantonese is more like upper elementary, lower intermediate, where it's just enough to live day to day. I can go to
Get around.
I can go to a karaoke bar and I can sing songs.
That's not getting around.
Well, I mean, but yeah, but it's there. And then Russian, just because like I was in Georgia, the country.
Were you there at the same time as Christina Pusha?
Actually, yes.
Really?
Yes.
Do you-
As I was leaving, I know. As I was arriving, she was leaving.
Okay.
As I was arriving, she was leaving.
Two ships passing in the
we
night.
knew a lot of people in common.
I was
but
going
we
to say, I
never
mean, there has
actually
how big
met.
is the expat community in
And yeah,
Georgia?
right,
It can't
right.
be that big.
Right. Yeah. So I never actually met her, but we had like we knew a lot of people in common. But I never actually met her. But yeah, I chose Georgia just because I was bored living here during COVID. And I hadn't really lived in Florida for many years. And so all my friends from high school were gone. I didn't go to college in Florida. My young Republican friends from like yesteryear were like all gone or whatever. And so Georgia opened up a remotely from Georgia program where you just had to prove you made like $2,000 a month and had like health insurance. And you can get a visa to live there for a year during COVID. And so I thought, okay, cool. And
Man, that
and
sounds like fun. That's what I should have done.
well, and the thing is like,
to-
So
Back
when
to
the
the
crap
kids.
hits the fan, I'm calling you because you're going to tell me
Where to go so we can get the hell out of Dodge.
well, and the thing is,
Pack up the kids,
that
school
summer-
books. Let's go.
that summer I had started I did like a Russian program that Dartmouth had online. And it's an accelerated language program where it's like super intense. And I did it for like 1 week where it was like 25 hours and there were really 2 other students. And I was the only one who wanted to continue, but then the other 2 didn't. So I was like, all right, well, and then this just happened. And so I was there in Georgia and I was doing like 15 to 20 hours a week of Russian, one-on-one. And so that allowed me to like travel. And so I've been to 7 of the 15 former Soviet republics.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Which ones?
So in the Caucasus, we have Armenia, Georgia, and Azerbaijan. So I've been to all 3 of those. In the stands, I've only been to Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan. And then I've been to Moldova and Ukraine. And I was actually in Ukraine in both Kiev and Odessa about 3 or 4 months before the invasion. So that was also very interesting for me. But speaking Russian as an American and being over there, it's fun because like I like karaoke, and I learned languages through songs. So I would just like go to a karaoke bar and just like befriend like locals and sing songs there, like just like I did in China. Like I'd go to a karaoke bar and sing songs in Chinese,
And that's how you like
and
made your
Mandarin or
friends
Cantonese,
and like connect with
It
people.
was like it's like forget ping pong diplomacy. It's like karaoke
That's
diplomacy.
it. When Steve's in the White House, it's gonna be like there's gonna be we're gonna convert the bowling alley into a karaoke
But yeah,
bar.
that's what people. I mean, that's a really big Asian thing. It's
Oh yeah,
it's
no,
huge.
it's huge.
I mean,
Absolutely.
It's a Japanese word.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I
That's
just
very
want to
true.
interject. We do have a Rumble rant. Yeah.
Ooh.
Thank you.
$10 from Janine.
Janine,
Aw.
thank you. I'm sorry, Janine, for having to listen to our pre-show ramblings.
Our
She
pre-show
says,
behind
thanks
the
for all
scenes.
you do, and go Steve.
Go,
Aw.
Steve. Oh, thank you, Janine.
Aw,
we
you
really
have a
appreciate
fan.
it. Yay.
So Janine, just a shout out to Janine. She is our North County Regional Director for the REC, and
Yes.
she's really kicking butt.
And
So
she lives on the western edges of West Palm Beach,
yes, yes.
just before we hit Royal Palm Beach.
So Royal Palm Beach
yes.
butts up against West Palm Beach.
It does.
My North County geography is
Well,
crap.
that's why there's a lot of drama over 441. and
Oh.
West
Yes.
Palm Beach not wanting.
Oh
it.
yeah, I know all the drama there. That's
And how
yeah.
it's been delayed and kicked down for.
And you
5
want
years.
that, right?
She
You
says
want
it was
that.
adorable.
That
Our
is correct.
pre-show.
Oh, I appreciate. I'm actually very curious, Jeannie. Did you get to hear the Instagram reel that I was playing? Because I played an Instagram reel, and I don't know if everyone heard it.
There was a lot of naughty words.
There was a lot of really bad words, and I hope YouTube doesn't kick us off because of it.
Oh.
And we did, and we didn't have the button.
We didn't have our button. We didn't know we needed the button. Beep, the beep button. Good grief. Okay, so Georgia.
Georgia, yeah.
So you're in Georgia. You stay in Georgia, and then you come back to the States.
I come back to the U.S. I came back to the U.S. to get vaccinated, actually, because I had been traveling around while in Georgia, and it was starting to become a hassle to travel. And so I came back, and originally it was just going to be for like a month, and then I decided to just stay. And then in October, November, I just took a month and went to Europe and did like Greece and Cyprus. What else did I do? Moldova, Romania, Georgia. I went to like half a dozen countries for about a month, and then I came back here, and it was like, am I going to stay here? Am I not? Am I going to go to grad school? Because my brother's at Yale right now getting his MBA, and so it's kind of like, well, should I go back to grad school? And then
Social pressure,
Yeah, for
familial
sure.
pressure,
And so
brotherly competition.
that's how I like got involved politically again. Because I mean, I've been involved politically since I was like in college.
Sounds like you
Yeah, I
were
was-
even younger.
At some
probably.
point, I was like vice president of the Dartmouth College Republicans. And
How was that when you were in college, being in like Dartmouth is
it
Ivy,
was
right?
crazy. Yeah, it's an Ivy League
Being
school. It's
Republican.
super liberal. Even
Right.
It's the most conservative Ivy League school, but that doesn't.
But
mean
still.
anything.
But still, were there a
Still an
lot
Ivy
of
League
you? Were you like so,
So-
when you say you're the president, was that like the president of like
The vice
5 people?
president,
The vice of like
No, I mean,
5
we
people,
had-
or are
we
you
had
like a
pretty
good contingency?
sizable- We had a pretty sizable group. I mean, New Hampshire has one of the largest legislative bodies in the English-speaking world, so there was always like an election where they were asking for volunteers,
Mhm.
and I actually got to cast my first vote when I was 18 back in the 2008 election, after actually hearing all of the candidates stop by, because New Hampshire is the first election
Yeah.
primary.
Oh yeah.
So
That's
that
super
was the
neat.
2008 was Obama and
John
McCain.
McCain. Thank
And
you.
that's actually so. When I rushed my fraternity, my house name was Maverick, because I was the token Republican, and my best friend
That was great.
who was also in the fraternity, he was also in college Republicans, and his house name was Gipper. So
Win
there
one
was-
for the Gipper.
Yeah, so there was like a little like college Republicans like lineage there.
Yeah.
And now when I tell people, when I like have that nickname, it was because I was a token Republican. But now it's more of my like independent streak or my ability-
Rebellious streak.
being more independent minded. I
Mhm.
think. Obviously, I have an ideological compass and something that guides me, but I'm not
Speak a
bound.
little
I'm
closer.
not
Yeah, there.
bound by that. So that's how I use that name Maverick now. People think it's because of Top Gun, but it's like, no, it's actually John McCain. But anyway, and so that's how I got to get involved with the Board of County Commissioners, actually, because I was thinking about grad school at the time, and I was like, well, I have a lot of free time. I do work, but I have a lot of free time, and so I got to learn how government works. And the biggest lesson I honestly learned through that experience, it was like 8 months, was don't be mean. Like, make friends.
So, for our viewers, tell who you work for in the county commission, how
Yeah.
you got there, because I don't think Abby
I
knows,
don't know.
and a lot of our viewers
So
don't know.
Nowadays I like to say that it was like an internship or whatever with the Board of County Commissioners for my county commissioner
Which
for my
is?
district, District 6, which encompasses Wellington, Royal Palm Beach, Loxahatchee Acreage out to Belglade.
Pahokee and all that. And that is Commissioner Baxter.
Commissioner Baxter, that's correct. Yeah.
So you worked there after she got elected?
That's correct. So I volunteered, and that's my area, and I had a lot of free time, and so I was asked to help out. And I think my first month and a half, it was unpaid, and I would just like help out as needed. And then we learned that each county commissioner has $12,000, where they could basically use that in any way they want in terms of additional support. Call it
Like
an
on call. Like, yeah,
internship
that's
or
what I was. Like an on call
Yeah.
professional or internship or whatever.
Yeah. And so I did that, and it was kind of neat just to learn how local government works. I mean, it's county, but it's still a lot of that. And the biggest lesson I learned was just be nice. If you want to get something done, if you want people to be on your side,
Yes.
be nice.
You
Be
can
nice.
catch a
Yeah.
lot more flies with honey than vinegar.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And after meeting so many elected officials, I'm kind of just like, I don't need another fancy degree to run for office. And it was a matter of kind of going like, all right, well, how can I be more involved? At this point, I'm 34 years old, or 33, 34.
28.
Yeah, I know, right? There are members of Congress younger than I am, and it's kind
Isn't
of
that
like,
scary?
and it's kind of just like, who should not be in Congress? And it's kind of like, well, I feel like I have so much to like offer. And at the board, as I was there in the Board of County Commissioners, obviously I'm paying attention to my own hometown, and it was kind of just like, this is probably going to be another election where all 3 seats are going to be uncontested. You know, how do I make what do I do? And so there were 3 seats up for grabs, if you will. One was the mayor seat, and the other two seats. Well, the other 2 members of the council are my favorite members on the council, for different reasons. Councilman Hamara is everywhere. Like, he goes to everything, and he is also my mentor in the Rotary Club, period. And then Selena Samios is also very active in the community, and she loves to ask questions in the village council meetings, because I was watching them online the entire time, secretly, and using AI to give me summaries of the meetings and asking questions. Oh, I will teach you that magic later. But
Steve,
Wait a second.
I think smart enough.
I know.
I will tell you about
Reveal
that.
your mysteries.
And so it was kind of like, all
You
right.
want to learn stuff? Hang out with Steve for just a few hours. Like, you learn.
Just
Just
watch
so
the
much.
podcast, because
Oh
we've
my
already
God.
learned a lot.
Yeah, I know. I'm like,
I mean,
it's
we at the
amazing.
Board of County Commissioners, we use that. We would
Yeah.
the meetings and be like, all right, well, how many times was this word said? Or like, pull exactly where this line was said. Yep, okay. And it'll take you directly to the video that was said, and it's like, and then provides you the transcript. But you can also ask it questions, like anyway.
Scares me
Like, I'll
so
tell you about
much.
that. Oh, and it was great. Even like the candidate forum, I put that video through it, and I asked it questions like, who performed better, and it provided an analysis on like, well, candidate A, candidate B, and it's like, all right, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses.
Oh my God, I got so much to learn.
Wow.
But
Okay.
anyway, so
Okay,
running.
sorry. Back
then
to
I'm
running.
so then I'm like, all right, well, it's going to be the mayor's seat, period. And we don't have term limits in Royal Palm Beach. That's the thing. And so the incumbent has been in office since 2003. And he's been
20 years?
since I was in 8th grade. And mayor since 2016. And there are a lot of things that I disagree with him on. And so that
Has he
was-
ever run opposed? Has anyone,
Yes,
people have
yes.
opposed
The last
him?
person who ran against him ran a very negative campaign because
People
of
don't like that.
something that the incumbent mayor did, which you can just Google and find out. I have not made that part of my campaign for a purpose. and because I wanted to be strictly on the issues and strictly positive, and that wasn't enough. That was a one-trick pony type of thing, as well-meaning and well-intentioned as that was. But for me, it's I want to keep Royal Palm Beach, and not have it become West Palm Beach. There's a reason why people move out there. Coupled with that sort of responsible development or preference for redevelopment is also transparency in government. And although in the state of Florida it's completely legal to have developers essentially or businesses write you a check in the form of a political contribution, it totally looks like quid pro quo.
Oh, yeah.
When you speak the wonders of this project. And so the incumbent, so we have a deadline tomorrow. As of yet, the incumbent has raised $10,000. 3,000 of that comes from a certain developer whose project the incumbent speaks the wonders of. Much of that money comes from other businesses that have had projects before the village council. I've out fundraised the incumbent, and all of that has come from actual people,
Voters,
not businesses.
constituents.
So that's history in and of itself. Period. And that's huge. And I'm not one for identity politics, but I would also be the first person who actually grew up in Royal Palm Beach. We were incorporated in 1965. I'm sorry, 1959. We're turning 65 this year. And there's never been someone who actually grew up there. There's also never been someone who is Hispanic on the village council, even though we make up 1/4 of the population. So my campaign has targeted those two groups heavily. I've sent mailers, it's giving out my strategy here, to all 18, 19, and 20-year-olds who are registered to vote in the village, because when they get those mailers, mommy and daddy will also be seeing them.
Right.
And you get to hear about someone who probably went to your high school or your elementary school running, and they're about to be getting text messages and phone calls, because that's huge.
Oh, yeah.
That's huge.
Absolutely. That's someone they can connect with, someone they see like
Exactly.
themselves in. I get that's part of the biggest issue that we have in looking at even the presidential candidates, and we're like, I think that's why so many people liked Vivek, was because he was young and he had young kids and he's living the life that we're all living, as far as
He had skin in the game.
Skin in the game. He had a few, and so you have skin in the game. It's your community. It's your city. It's where
Your
you grew
family
up. Your
lives
family
there.
lives
Yep,
there.
my grandma's lived there. I have an aunt, an uncle, a cousin. My parents live there. I mean, it's the community that I grew up in, and contact, even knocking on doors. It's like, oh, hey, I haven't seen you, and like that shock of I know you, and that's all it is. And so it's. I'm when I put up a sign, it's literally can be going to a Democrat or an NPA or a Republican.
Right, because it doesn't matter. It's very
I'm literally
local.
going through my yearbook, asking my friends
Who still lives here?
who still lives here, and I don't care if you still live here. Do your parents still live
Yeah.
there? Can they please put up a yard sign? It doesn't matter if it's blue or red. It's a nonpartisan race.
Right.
So that's been my strategy, and because these people don't vote by mail. What's going to be huge is looking at the numbers of 18 to 34, which I'm at the very last thing of that. Those numbers and how that performs, and also looking at Hispanic voters and see how many of them turn out and vote.
So I have a question. With that's awesome. This mayor, is it a strong mayor system or is it a council mayor system?
That was going to be my question too.
So
I knew.
So we have a village manager.
Okay.
So essentially,
So you'll be one of the council.
Yep,
Your vote
correct.
is the
So
same
my
as the council
vote is the
members.
same.
Okay.
The only difference is that I would run the meetings.
You would run the meetings, and then in
And that's one
emergency
thing that I've
situation,
also
you run things.
always had a certain umbrage with, the fact that we don't start our village council meetings with an invocation.
You don't?
Oh.
We do not. We don't even have a moment of silence. And the incumbent is on the record as saying that he doesn't believe that the village council meetings should start with an invocation. So when
What's his reasoning? Do you know?
So the reasoning is he didn't want something to happen like what happened in Lake Worth, where there was somebody who
Hailed Satan.
And it's kind of like one bad apple doesn't spoil the bunch.
Right. There's not that many people who are going to hail Satan in front of the city council.
Correct. And it's like
There is that one guy
Right. The one guy. The one guy.
that lives a few blocks from me.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, the guy that puts the displays up in Delray.
He lives a couple blocks from you? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
he lives in Deerfield. I know. I think he still lives with his parents, to be
Oh,
honest
well,
with you.
you know,
That
and
explains a
Satanism
lot.
does
It
not.
does.
It doesn't pay well, apparently.
And I hate to have this be like a Shelbyville, Springfield thing where we're constantly comparing ourselves to Wellington, but Wellington has rabbis and pastors and reverends
Oh, yeah.
do
We got into a
their-
conversation.
Lighthouse Point does as well.
I got into so at the Women Impacting the Nation meeting, the conversation came up of what does separation of church and state mean, and is there really a separation of church and state? And the way that I understood what the speaker was saying, which I thought was very interesting, was yes, there to some degree, yes, there is. It's not to prohibit government from participating in religion; it's to prohibit the government from forcing a religion. And so it twisted around so much that because separation of church and state, we can do nothing that has to do with religion in any. You can't pray in school. You can't pray in a city council meeting. You can't do anything like that because that would violate the separation of church and state.
But all these prayers are ecumenical in nature.
Right. And if you are as a person, that is what you believe, then the government, you should be impeded from it because you're not forcing your belief on anyone else. You're representing your belief in the governmental space.
Mm-hmm.
And that as a guaranteed right in the First Amendment.
The way that I look at it, it sets the tone for any business that is conducted.
Yeah.
That's the way that I've
Reminds you
looked
that
at it.
God's watching.
He
That's
always
the way-
is watching.
Our Rotary Club
Temperature
meeting.
calms things down.
Our Rotary Club meetings start with prayer.
Mhm.
Our Board County Commissioners start with
It has not calmed things down in REC meetings. Just gonna
That's true. That's a whole nother
but
issue.
that's another issue.
Well, this meeting was okay.
We have a conference.
Oh.
He wants you. Language you know?
Что хочешь, я говорил. So I said, what do you want to say?
Yeah, that's what I got.
Term limits. And there have been meetings in the past where this has been discussed and it just kind of gets kicked.
Well,
down
why
the
would they
line.
want to fire themselves or
That's
lay
correct.
themselves off?
And if anything, whatever comes of this, what I have demonstrated is appetite for change.
Mm-hmm.
And polling would be prohibitively expensive to do.
Right.
But I can use Facebook to poll people. When I have policy pictures, it's not property taxes that gets the most likes. It's not responsible development that gets the most likes. It is term limits. That
So they're
gets
just
the
ready.
most
You just see
likes.
something change.
People are ready for change, not just for change's sake, but because I guess when a politician, an elected official, let's say, instead, has been in office for 2 decades, the list of people with issues becomes longer.
Oh,
and
yeah.
longer, and
And the people that they probably owe favors to becomes longer and longer and longer.
But I'm a little bit shocked that the incumbent mayor hasn't raised as many funds.
I find that 10,000 is not very much.
That's correct.
What's like how much have you raised?
So as of the last filing, 17,000.
Okay.
I have many more thousands that have been pouring in since then.
What on average, like when people win, like historically, what's been like the amount someone has spent to win a race?
A fraction of what it is in any other municipality because voter turnout is really, really low.
What is it?
It hovers around 10 to 12%.
That's pretty common in a lot of cities.
But in comparison to Wellington, Boca's
Boca's
Gardens,
12%. Yeah.
But this is a mayoral race.
Yeah.
But if I have the Excel sheet here, there have been times where it's only about 1,200 votes overall cast.
Out of 23,000
well,
registered.
right now it's 23, so I don't know what it was back
right.
then.
You're right.
It peaked in 2016 where we had almost 7,000 votes cast, but that was the same time there was an election as the presidential primary preference, and it was contested at both sides at the time.
Right.
So we're not going to
you drew the
see
people,
those numbers, although I would love to see those numbers because the higher the turnout
Well, if Nikki Haley would have stayed in, we might have seen those numbers, but here we are.
The turnout is, the better it is in my favor because the more people are aware that there is an election, the more they are like, wait,
This guy's been on the
incumbent
ballot.
Has been there for that long.
That's crazy. Pants.
And so tomorrow's a deadline for for the last, tomorrow's the deadline, the penultimate deadline. And so I'll be able to see how much the incumbent has raised. The last filing, he submitted a waiver of report, which meant that there
No
was
activity.
No
There was
activity.
no activity.
So according to Thomas Turkin, he says he's got it in a pack.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which pack?
Thomas.
I mean,
Is
like,
Thomas watching?
Yes.
We're live.
is
Yeah,
this
we're
like a
live.
Okay,
yes.
Like I know that he uses Patriot.
He says
Games,
it's working now.
He's
but
texting
as
me.
of
He uses what?
Patriot
Patriot
Games.
What is that?
It's a consulting firm.
Oh, okay.
They mostly do Royal Palm Beach.
Are they
and
better than
downtown.
Cornerstone? Sorry, I'm gonna keep ripping you, Cornerstone.
Well, here's the thing. I've never.
It's
I'm not
ridiculous.
even using a consultant.
No, I
because
mean,
there was nobody with enough knowledge of Royal Palm Beach, and
they're about as useful as a fly on a rhino's butt.
So I.
They at least got our name right on the
No,
last
I'm
flyer.
telling you, somebody printed. I don't think they did because that flyer was printed before the one that was printed the other day. I think that they got two people. I think they
I think
multiple
somebody
people.
saw our tweet.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe they fixed it when they printed it the second round. I just cannot believe that they sent the same mailer to the same house. Find that so incompetent.
I get it.
Yes, but it's such a simple thing
Well, because here's the thing.
to run the data.
But here's the thing. So when I did the 18, 19, and 20-year-old mailers, they were getting a completely different mailer that adults
Right,
are
and
getting.
if we would
This
have
was
got
the exact
this is
same
the
one.
exact
That's
same
okay, well,
mailer,
then I don't know about that.
the exact same mailer. The
18,
only
9
difference was the name.
No, 18, 19, and 20-year-olds are getting a
That I understand.
They're getting a biography.
Send all the mailers. I'll take all
of
the mailers.
me, like I went to this school and I did
Cornerstone.
that.
I keep them. I have a file of mailers from 22, and I keep a file of all the mailers because I like to look at them when I'm considering. They're good for research. They're good for remembering like what was good, what was bad. Anyway, I keep them all. So send me all the mailers. Put me on all the mailers list. I'll take them all. But don't send me the same one twice. That's just incompetence. That's all I gotta say. It's the same household. Okay. Sorry. Totally.
Mailers are, at least in a municipal election, mailers are expensive.
They're expensive.
Yeah.
So that's
It
my
is
point. I was like, how stupid are you?
I spend roughly $1 between the postcard.
And the
It's a
postage.
large postcard, by the way, not like the smaller one.
This is this big.
So it's
Wow.
that plus the label, the Avery label, plus the
Stamp.
And why am I doing that way? Because at least that looks more personalized.
Yeah.
There was a human being. My
Yeah,
aunt-
mine are definitely printed, and they got the letters all funky, and like they capitalized the H.
You want
in
to hear
my
the story
last
about
name.
my mailer from 2 years ago?
Oh yeah,
It hit mailboxes the day after the election.
that's right. I remember that.
That's right.
And it
Which
had been
candidate was this?
me personally.
Oh no!
I think I sent them to the printer mid-February. It was like a March 8th election. And when she mailed them out, they had to go to Miami and back. And it was like the Miami post office sat on them.
I remember that.
And literally, I got it in my mailbox the day after the election. And people started posting like on my social media, like, I just got your mailer. And I'm like, wah, wah.
So my
Sad
aunt,
cake.
Yeah.
my aunt Martita, she's in a wheelchair. She's disabled, and so what she's been contributing is putting in the labels and putting on the stamps. And so, and I've sent out like at this point thousands. I'd have to look to see if it's like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. I'd have to look at the number. That's a big difference, but whatever. And so once a good chunk of that is done, I then drive off to the post office in Royal Palm Beach and like give it to them, because it's if I go there, it's the chances of it getting out faster.
Yeah.
Oh,
goes
yeah,
up
no doubt.
dramatically. So we're not using a third party service. First, that would cost more money.
Yeah.
But secondly, I'm also like, maybe I'm giving too many of my secrets, but I'm also as I'm going through the postcards, every now and then I'm going like, Sean, please vote. Steve, and then
Yeah,
like
you're
signing it.
personalizing
Like, I'm
it
like
even further.
super, like not to all of them because that would take too much time, but like if I'm there, I'm just like that extra like
Yeah.
Well, that's
special
like what
sauce.
Glenn was doing,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
he's
Leaving the
sending
notes.
the notes. It was
It was
so
like after the
important.
fact,
Yeah.
you'd send the
Please
thank you.
vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's so important to engage with voters because I think so many people feel so unheard and
That's the
invisible.
biggest
We feel
thing.
like a number when you get. I'm telling you, and I get two of the same meal. I feel like a number. Like I feel
Well,
like it's a number.
Yeah.
I spoke to
Check.
I spoke to someone. She messaged on Facebook on my Facebook page. She's like, "Oh, you definitely need to check out what's happening in La Mancha with traffic and school." And I was like, "Oh, sure." And I DM'd her, and I was like, "Oh, like let me know when's like a good time." And so she was like, "How about Tuesday?" And I was like, "All right, sure." So I'll stop by. And she was like, like I literally talked to like the mayor, and he responded he didn't know that he was responding to her. He thought he was responding to his secretary.
Oh, no.
And it was something like, no, I will not meet with her. Or something to that effect. I can do a FOIA request for that.
wow.
But it's like, ooh. And
Ouch.
the resident got that. And then, I was like, oh, have you spoken to like this member or that member? And they're like, well, I've spoken to them, but no one's actually like taken the time to actually visit. Like you actually like did this.
It
And I
makes
was
a
like,
huge
Makes a
difference.
huge difference.
like, but that's your job as an elected
Mhm.
official.
Yes.
And now he doesn't have another job or anything, does he?
No, he does.
Oh, he does.
He does. He does.
Okay.
He does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe he sells insurance.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
Well,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
So Ro chimed in again.
Okay.
And he said, "C, talking about my situation. When you plan out a voter journey, you know all this months in advance. Then you can have them print and hold the permutations in house. Then fire them off in salvos based on your segments." And he said, "Josie, you're number one."
Thanks, Ro.
Thanks, Ro.
I mean, I've been loving looking at the daily WebElect like tallies because it's starting to paint like a story. Like
You're starting to see what's happening.
Yeah, like in a town that is, so we are 28 red, 40 blue.
Okay, wait.
The-
28%,
Mhm.
48 blue.
40.
40
40.
blue.
Mhm. And how
the
many
rest is NPA.
What is, I don't know.
What is
About
it?
20,
68,
22?
So it's heavily
68.
D.
23,000 voters you have, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But every single conservative got a mailer if they had 2 or more conservatives at the home. That is how like I target, because it's easier to get more bang for my buck there than sending it to the one person.
Mm.
There are third parties who are also sending texts on my behalf, and that is also helping them because I cannot legally tell people which party I'm a
Right.
part of.
Right.
But
Yeah.
other organizations can.
Now on that, and I've been asking a few municipal candidates that this is, what do you think the benefits are of having a nonpartisan election versus a partisan election in the municipal
People
aspects?
will judge me because of the way that I look or my last name or the letter next to my last name if it were a partisan race. Thankfully, that's not the case. I've had a lot of people inquire as to my party registration, and it's kind of like, all you need to do is look at my endorsements.
Who have you been endorsed by?
I have County Commissioner Mike Barnett, County Commissioner Marcy Woodward, Vice Mayor Tom Turkin, and have Commissioners.
Shout out to the Vice Mayor.
Shout out to
Shout
the
out to
Vice
Vice
Mayor.
Mayor.
Who's
Shout out to the
currently
Vice Mayor.
watching us?
And also Commissioners Sarah Perez from Pahokee and Z Marine from Belglade. So it's a very, very diverse group
Yeah.
of people. And that's kind of what I wanted to reflect. We have a veteran, we have a woman, we have African American, we have Hispanic woman. And so that is the conservative movement this day
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
begin with. And so even if you just see the face, it speaks to the story. It's whatever
Our umbrella
you think.
is, our tent is big.
Whatever
Come
you
join us.
think the conservative movement is, you have no idea.
Right.
And thank God my last name begins with an A. For
Yes,
whatever
so you're
added
listed
bonus-
first.
For whatever added bonus that is.
Right.
But yeah,
Do they list by alphabetical on the
Yes.
ballot?
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's all around or if each municipal.
I think it's pretty
municipality does it,
standard.
but
No?
that's-
No.
Really?
Random.
Sometimes the incumbents first, regardless
No.
of.
Sometimes, and then in Boca it's random.
At least in Royal Palm
Really?
Beach,
It's alphabetical in Lighthouse
Steve
Point.
Avila goes on top.
No. Yay! Woohoo!
If you ain't first, you're last.
Yep.
Okay, so what are some of the biggest issues facing Royal Palm Beach, and what is your contribution to bring to the table to what you would want to adjust, or
So
where is that?
in talking to voters, it really does seem to be term limits. Like when I
Okay.
talk to people, that's it. Or I don't know like what it is when I knock on the door, but it's kind of like, oh, he's been there for too long. And for the first time, there is a challenger who can fundraise and who can self-fund, who can get the endorsements of elected officials, and who is from there and has a natural.
And you're putting in the
base.
work.
And I'm putting in the work. Like
And you can do the job.
Thank you.
That too.
I mean, luckily there's also staff and fellow members on the council who can provide help. But that's the difference. There have been attempts in the past, but this is historic in its very self.
So when you get elected, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, you're making the term limit thing part of your platform now?
Oh, yeah, very much
And so that's going to have to go on the ballot ultimately, correct?
That's right. We were asking.
So I would need to look into that. The way that it's been discussed before, it hasn't even gotten to that stage to even have the council approve it to get on the ballot.
So I know in Boca the way that stuff goes is they have to go through the city council. The council has to approve it to go onto the ballot.
And I've seen the meetings where it's they sit there and they talk about X percent of municipalities in Palm Beach County have term limits. Why do not? And of those that do have term limits, this is what this is. And these are the terms.
Well, the argument is always there's not enough candidates to run, right? So based
tried
on
to pull in Boca.
So based on the history, because there's been so many times that they've ran unopposed, that's probably the excuse that they give.
But let me explain why I believe that phenomenon exists in Royal Palm Beach. There is a certain structural issue that discourages people from running. And I'll give you an example.
In addition to Form 6?
Well, Form 6 is another thing, which I disagree with, and hopefully a CFO, who ultimately has a say in that, can do something.
We'll make a call.
So, for example, when I qualified, I needed to physically go into the office and meet with the village clerk. I could not find any information on how to qualify or see the forms whatsoever. And I didn't want to set off any sensors that I was going to be running.
You didn't have to get any petitions?
Any petitions? No. I was talking to Tom Turkin about that. He said that he needed to have X number.
How many? Tom, if you're watching, how many do you have to have? I'm curious.
200 or something?
That's Boca.
Yeah.
I forgot what it was.
They added that too. The voters voted for it.
And so
I didn't.
Like in every clerk decides their own thing because they're basically the supervisor of election.
Yeah.
And I needed to have in another municipality, my registration number would have sufficed, or just pulling that I am a registered voter. The clerk wanted to have the physical card, not a copy, a physical card. I don't carry that card. And this was before Wendy Link started sending those out. So I had to go to supervisor of election, wait there for a little bit, get my physical card, and go back there.
Wow.
Period. But that wasn't what I needed. Wasn't even available. I needed to go in there.
They didn't have a checklist or anything like that.
No.
Well, so in Lighthouse Point, they typically you have to go into the city clerk's office to get the campaign packet.
Yes.
They put together a packet of all the forms you have to get completed. Yeah. And instructions and the treasurer's report filing deadlines and candidate handbook.
And those things are pretty standard throughout Palm Beach County. But little things such as that differs.
Yes.
The voter registration card differs.
That's different.
That's very different.
And so that was an issue. In other municipalities, if I want to find out, I hate to say Wellington over again, but that's my reference point. If I want to find out who their treasurer's report, they do it online.
Yeah, all of ours are online.
And I can just click it. Here I need to do a FOIA request. So there's a certain level of entrenchment there.
Old.
He only needed 25 signatures
and even
certified by the SOE.
But
they also are districted.
That's
Sorry.
True. And even a question that I get asked is, why didn't you just join an advisory board first? Well, my background in education as a consultant, the one that's a natural fit for me is the Education Advisory Board Committee. But unfortunately, in order for you to qualify to be on that, you need to be the parent of a student in the village, or you need to sit on a SAC, a school advisory committee for a school. And it's wait, so
I've got to sit on something else to be on this?
Somehow being a parent is already something that is qualification enough. But someone who has years of experience in this and knows this isn't. And that's why I was all right, well, I can't even get involved in the one thing that I want to do, which is not just for one specific school, but all the schools in the village.
You have an education board for your schools?
So each individual school does have a SAC.
No, right.
But then there's a board for the village.
What do they do?
They are liaison to the schools. They're liaison to the schools and also to the school board. In our case, we have Marcia Andrews as our school board.
Which district
member.
Is that?
District 6.
Okay. Is she up for re-election? She is.
So she just had an election in November. In August.
22.
Yes. So in August, she got roughly 49% of the vote.
Oh, that's the one that had the runoff election.
Correct,
That's right.
with
With Showalter. Right.
Oh, okay. I know.
Okay.
I know her.
That's right.
Yes.
I can't keep all the school board. Oh, makes my head hurt.
Yeah, so that's why I decided to run for mayor. It was a matter of,
When did you make the decision to run?
I think while I was at the board of county commissioners still, that was when I made it. It was kind
You're
of
like, I'm gonna do it.
I'm just going to do it. Like I've now met quite a few elected officials, and I'm looking at what I have to offer, and it's like, well, if not now, when?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions I got was, well, why don't you start as a council member first and then do that? And I said, well, everybody gets to their final destination in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And this person in particular was a member of the military. And I said, as someone who served, you're aware that there are those who start as privates and as those who enlist. And then there are those who start at a higher pay grade because of certain skills that they bring to the table. And that's what I feel is going on here. I don't need to have a crash course in how government works, or there won't be that much on-the-job training. There will be. I'm not saying there isn't. There's a learning curve for everything. But it's not like I'm a spring chicken just because I'm 34 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm fully aware of how meetings have been run because I've been watching them from the comfort of my own home on the computer. And I see the meeting minutes and I see all of that. And I also see what's going on in terms of this relationship between developers and the village council. And it's a turnoff. And I see how these elections just go by because nobody wants to do it because they're scared or because, oh no, like you haven't been blessed by a certain developer in Royal Palm Beach. Well, that same developer, when I was in high school, gave me $1,000 because he was county commissioner and had a foundation there. And I was, little boy wonder when I was in high school. And so it's, okay, you are continuing to maybe support the incumbent because of past relationships, but this is the dawning of a new era, and even back then you saw something in me, or your organization saw something in me, and this is what happens when
This
you
is the natural
invest.
progression.
I am now here, so it comes to full fruition. And coincidentally, the incumbent worked for said county commissioner at the time, while he was even an elected official.
Interesting.
Oh wow, that is interesting.
Oh shoot, I had a question that was on that.
So what
Sorry.
what do you cherish most about Royal Palm Beach that you want to make sure that stays true to what you grew up with?
Sure. So the incumbent once called it Mayberry, and that it had this Mayberry-esque charm. And so I used those exact words at the candidate forum, and like a dog whistle, he understood that I was completely quoting him. But the thing is, I really mean it. And so if we're going to build a city place of the West over there by someone who has written you checks on quite a significant amount, because when you have different LLCs, that's 1,000 here, 1,000 here, 1,000 there. So of course you completely support this
It's
project.
amazing how that happens.
I know,
right?
right?
So good.
And it's already been passed. It's already been passed. And basically that land was annexed into Royal Palm Beach. It's land that's south of Southern Boulevard. And there was always a gentleman agreement with Wellington over Southern Boulevard. But Royal Palm Beach jumped to that border first, if you will. And now Wellington is talking about annexation over the border. And it's kind of like, well, we open a Pandora's box. So
Yeah.
what do you, like, what do we
That's
have to
been like
play?
the hot word of the county, I think, for the
Annexation?
last 6
Annexation?
months. Like,
Well, yeah, Palm Beach Gardens wants to do with
Yeah.
ITID. The Palm Beach Post, or I'm sorry, the Palm Beach Compost.
Yep, that's what I call it too.
Sorry, their candidate interview, which is
Oh, they have the worst
was
candidate interviews.
complete trash.
Trash. I should have. I always say this, but like when I interviewed with them when I ran for city council, I should have stopped. I like my
Worse than the
biggest
Sun
regrets-
Sentinel?
way worse than the Sun Sentinel. The Sun Sentinel at least asked questions about my platform and about my campaign. All the Palm Beach Compost did, the whole 30 minutes that we sat on there, was make fun of me about like not wanting to wear a mask and suing the county for not wearing masks. And is my biggest regret. I don't regret hardly anything about my campaign except for I should have when they started doing it, I should have had the to be like, this interview's over, have a nice day, and just like shut my laptop. So anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it was like
no, but it resonates with me.
it's
I
the
mean,
worst. They have the worst interviews.
it's like they wanted sound bites, or they wanted my opinion about 441 and whatever, and it was like, why is that relevant if this isn't even going to be done in 5 years? That's literally 2 terms afterwards. Why is this relevant? You just want the soundbite that says that, yes, I support 441. And it's like, okay, but this is not black and white. There are shades of gray in all of this. And they asked me how I felt about annexing ITID or parts of ITID, Indian Trails Improvement District, which is the acreage. And it's like,
it's another hot button.
And it's like, wait, is this like, why is this question even relevant? So they wanted like a yes or no answer, and it was
crazy.
It was like, so my and I'm no lawyer, but like it depends on what your definition of is. So essentially, if it turns out that there's a study done that shows that we would not be spending money on if we annex parts of the acreage, and if there's a self-determination thing where residents there feel like they want to be annexed there, and if the supervisors of the Indian Trails Improving District approve of this, then maybe this is a conversation that we can have. But I'm sorry, that response was far too nuanced and advanced.
So sorry for you, compost.
When the incumbents received that endorsement, it was kind of just like, well,
that's good, because you know why? People will literally be all right, not voting for them.
And it wasn't even if you actually look at that endorsement, it was a very passive. It was very weak endorsement.
Because a lot of the articles and things that I've read about you and post, I think Florida Jolt said something seems to be.
I don't think they've been covered.
No,
I don't think they've covered this.
I saw somebody but it was very favorable to you. It was very.
Probably the Town Crier.
Yes, I think that's what it was. Yeah,
they actually are in the community. That's my hometown newspaper.
Oh, really? That was
the
Boca Journal or whatever. I can't.
Yeah, that's
I had a great interview with them.
Tom Turkin chimed in saying it's on Palm Beach County's comprehensive plan for municipalities to annex. So, I mean, I'm assuming the county is moving in a similar direction to Broward, where there's very little unincorporated land left. They want.
No, we have a lot of.
No, you do now. But I'm saying part of the
to.
comprehensive plan is probably for the municipalities to annex, so there's less and less unincorporated land in the county.
Well, that would depend if they can manage to hold on to their city councils and city commissions so that the land doesn't revert to becoming back to county land. So,
but at least for annexation, I thought the conversation would be more relevant regarding Wellington and their attempts than ITID. Or if anything, Wellington and Loxahatchee Groves or Palm Beach Gardens and ITID. Those are more present than Royal Palm Beach and ITID.
You're like,
what?
What are your thoughts on the Live Local Act, and how can that impact Royal Palm Beach that you see?
So I definitely do believe that municipalities have a better handle on what's happening. I think that oftentimes state legislators are well-intentioned. There might have been some type of problem, and in trying to be well-intentioned and solve a problem, you are taking away power from local governments.
Infringing on home rule.
Basically, and it's at the very core, although this is a nonpartisan office, there is this small government is better government ideological compass that guides the way that I deal with things. Whether should the county be dealing with this, or should the municipality be dealing with this? If it's within the jurisdiction of the municipality, and then you go up that chain of command.
Right.
So I mean that's how I feel about that.
Do you think it will impact Royal Palm Beach in the future? Or do you guys have land that could go that way? Is it?
So I don't know the exact number. I know it's 90% plus of land that's already been built up. But if anything we learned about this Total Royale project is that we can.
Which project is that?
So that's the City Place of the West.
The
so-called City Place of the West, where they're going to move the comedy club, and they're going to have an LA Fitness there, and Lululemon.
The comedy club?
I forgot the name of
the one that was in West Palm.
Yeah,
the Improv.
There's an improv there.
Improv, yeah, the Improv
No,
club.
they knocked it down.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they knocked down City Place.
Yeah, and that they were going to move there, or
all of a sudden, Kablammy.
Mm-hmm.
The movie theater, where Blue Martini used to be, which is not always Blue Martini in my head. All that whole
I
second
still call
deck.
it City Place.
It's all still City Place. The whole thing.
The square.
The square, Rosemary Square.
What are they doing with it?
I don't know. Office buildings, I
Office
think.
buildings, yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
Because we get these people from northeast of the country that want to come down here and turn West Palm Beach and turn Palm Beach County into, Wall Street and Manhattan and think that we should do all this development, and no, we don't want it. And they don't listen to us when
And
we say no, we
having
don't want it.
someone who is actually homegrown in Royal Palm Beach, you see the differences of opinions in terms of things like transportation. If you come from New York, DC, Boston, LA, you have a certain way of looking at the world regarding transit systems. And it's like, I'm sorry, but like, I will not be in support of like some lightweight rail that will go from like Royal Palm Beach or Wellington all the way downtown. No one who's like, quote, from here, like, will ever do that.
No.
Like,
it's like the Bright Line. Nobody's taking the Bright Line. They shaded the
To
windows.
be honest, like, it's probably what we need is like east-west
Long
commuters.
term, no, we definitely have an issue east-west. We basically only have North Lake, Okeechobee, and Southern Boulevard.
Right.
Yeah.
And any attempts to like add to that throughout ITID, through Westlake, and all of that, it's going to be an issue. But that's a county issue more than anything. That is not something that we.
You're
do.
like, it's not my monkey, not my
Stay in
circus.
your lane. Literally, stay in your lane.
Da-dun-ch.
But because there have been some discussions about that, and it's kind of like.
But yeah, so that's the difference between people coming here. And like, I literally sat with a candidate who's from the Northeast and running for Congress and said to me, well, I think that the West Palm, I would like to see Wall Street here and West Palm Beach needs to be developed and blah, 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 blah. And I was just sitting there like, well, we don't want that. We don't want that.
And again, as well-intentioned as it may be, maybe somewhere down the line, but like nowhere.
But we don't want to live in Manhattan. We don't want to live in Manhattan. We don't live in Manhattan. There's a reason we don't.
For me, it's a density issue.
Yes.
It's period.
We live in Florida. We
You're
live in Palm Beach
changing
County.
the character.
Exactly. And then
the
it
village.
changes the whole, and that's not, we want to raise our kids, like I want to raise my kids here and I want them to have, it's not going to be the exact same experience because life is not like that, but it needs to be the home that this is our home. Like, you don't get to come here into my house and say, I think you should knock that wall down, and I think you should build this kitchen this way. And I didn't invite you in to do that. You're not my architect. Sorry.
Turkin says Josie needs to run.
Do you have any announcements you would like to make tonight?
No. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate the vote of confidence. We'll see. Well, I'm content with where I'm at right now.
We need her wit and intellect here on the podcast, and she has enough distractions.
I have enough going on. No, but I'm very content with where I'm at right now and being behind the scenes more. So it's a lot of fun. But I appreciate the vote of confidence for sure.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens in Boca in the next few years.
Yeah, that's for
So.
sure. So I thought something was really cool about Royal Palm Beach. How many parks do you have?
Oh, we have like 21 parks.
Isn't that
How many square?
amazing?
What's your
That's
miles?
a good question. I would need to look into that. But we have a lot. Our biggest one is Commons Park.
And they're all city, or how many county parks do you have? Or do you know?
They're all
Do
city.
you have a
Royal Palm
separate
Beach.
Parks and Rec? So like in Boca, we have our own taxing district. That is our Parks and Rec.
Yes,
Do
because
you
my
have-
friend Ellen Feinberg's mom ran for that, I believe, a couple
In
years
Boca?
ago. A couple years
Possible.
ago. There's a special parks district.
We
that
have our
happens
own.
in
So that's why, like, this is how our city council members can get away with saying our millage rate is the lowest in the Tri-City
What is
area.
your millage rate? in
Our
Boca?
millage rate's like 4.5.
Okay, so we're
But-
192, which is low. It's the lowest for any municipality of 2,000 plus. But and so the incumbent likes to say like, oh, it's fine the way it is. But my argument is with housing prices continuing to go up, you're effectively paying more in taxes
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah.
year by year.
So, which is what people don't understand. I had someone in the candidate forum talking about how in Palm Beach County, how while the millage rate has come down, we're paying more in taxes. And I was like, yeah, because our property values have gone up. But no, so we have so this is why ours is 4.5, 4.7, something like that. And so our city council and our mayors like to say, oh, we have the lowest, which we do. Because if you go to Boynton or, and Tom, you can weigh in on Boynton, I believe it's in the 7s. And I think Delray's is in the 7s as well, 7 point something. So they like to say in Boca, oh, ours is the lowest. However, we have a special taxing district for our Parks and Rec that when you add the two together, which has its own millage
higher.
rate, it's about the same. And so, like, they like to say we have a lower millage rate because they can get away with saying that from the city council.
Well, and the thing is, too, the reason why it's a 192 millage rate is because it must have been maybe 15 plus years ago. Royal Palm Beach had a water plant, and it was sold to the county. And so all that money has essentially been in reserves and is what
Has kept
managed
it.
to keep it that long.
Ah.
It's nothing else that necessarily the council or the incumbent has done. It's exactly that.
So do you have a sorry? So I just want to clarify. So do you have a separate Parks and Rec department, or is
Yes.
it all? It's like a taxing district, or
No,
is
no,
it
no,
all
no.
part of
There's just a park and
the
Recs.
Parks and Rec department? So yeah, so we have that in our just for the record too. In the city of Boca, we have city Parks and Rec, and then we have our taxing district Parks and Beaches.
Parks and beaches, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
totally.
there are no beaches in Royal
Royal
Palm,
Palm
Beach.
Beach.
So I need to I need to look at a map, but I'm pretty sure we're the most inland city, at least in Palm Beach County for sure, that has the word beach in the
How
name.
did it get its name?
So in looking throughout its history, the what I saw was they wanted to capitalize off of West Palm Beach's name. And so when they
Oh.
incorporated in
Like Lake Worth.
1959
Lake
Lake
Worth
Worth Beach. Yes.
I'm like, I refuse to put beach on the end, and we have a store in Lake Worth, and I still call it Lake Worth. I'm like, I will never change.
Nope.
I refer to it as
Floridian,
Lake
this is
Worth.
what we're saying.
And I respect the will of the people, but actually
Yeah.
that vote was really close. It wasn't.
Was it? I don't.
Oh,
yeah.
It was
The-
like,
like the re-
52 to 48.
The residents voted to
Yeah,
change the
yeah,
name.
that's how they
okay, I
changed
just
it.
thought the city commission just like was like,
Yeah.
oh, we're changing.
Stroke
the
of a
name."
pen.
Yeah.
I want to know the ultimate cost of.
Oh,
of
I'm
all
sure
I
that.
mean,
it's
all of their
astronomical.
email addresses had to change. Their website had to change.
All of their signs,
the signage,
the ground
Yeah.
signs, probably everything on all the decals, on all the trucks, and everything.
logos. Yeah.
I
The
mean,
whole-
they changed the water.
Yes.
the water
I
thing.
It's
know.
really pretty.
Is that
It
the one
is
right
pretty.
along
I really
95?
like
Yeah.
it. It's really
Yeah.
pretty.
I
Like,
still want to
takes-
know how
I know-
much money that costs.
I will. Yeah,
right
I'd
now.
be really curious.
It looks like
If
a
anybody
giant
knows.
beach ball. It's
You
kind
can
of
probably
does.
going back through their budgets and their
Yeah, we'll add that to our
Yeah.
list of things to do.
yeah. I got enough on my plate with the city of Lighthouse Point's budget.
We're good. We're good. So okay. So how did it get? Oh, so capitalizing on the name in Royal Palm Beach. So
Yes,
okay, I find
that's
that
what
very
ultimately
funny.
happened.
I find
It's
that
like
interesting.
Greenland.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Greenland versus Iceland.
Yes.
always confused me as a you know.
We're just gonna
As
annex
an
Greenland.
adult.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about residents. We talked about. You guys got any more? I got more questions. What's the thing you're most excited about being mayor when you get elected?
Oh wow. I mean,
All the ribbon cuttings.
like the fact of being elected, or what I would be able to do.
Like what you'll be able to do, like besides term limits, like what's something that you think you'll be able to convince the rest of your council members to
Quick question.
join
though.
you on?
I just want to interrupt for a second. What do you think the term limit should be?
Oh, that's a good question.
I would support 8 years at most.
So 2 terms for 4 years?
I don't know because we've
What are
had
your,
right now we have 2 years for each term.
it's only 2-year terms.
It's only a 2-year term.
Oh,
And
okay.
he's been in there for over 20 years.
Mhm.
Wow. That's interesting.
Many of those have gone uncontested.
So
Yeah.
Lighthouse Point didn't have term limits until 2018.
What'd
How
you
did-
guys do?
So at some point, I think everything changed in 2018. It used to be 3-year terms, and they changed to 4-year terms, and you're limited to 3 terms. But everybody that was currently on the commission was grandfathered in, and their clocks restarted. So we have a commissioner on the commission that has been there
That's
since.
like what Boca tried to do.
He's been there since 1999, when I graduated high school.
That's when I graduated elementary school.
1999.
So
That's the year
yeah,
we got married.
Mazel tov. But yeah, so it, and I remember it. I mean, I wasn't really paying attention to city politics at the time, but I do remember it being on the ballot and when it had to go before the voters, and it passed. I think it's good.
What I don't understand is even if you disagree with the concept of having term limits as a council member, why not let
The
The
voters
voters
decide
decide.
because
Yeah.
they know the voters would decide
I
to
know.
yeet them.
But see, that's the thing. Even win or lose, what happens is I've taught the council a lesson.
Yes.
In the sense that you are not entitled a
To
seat.
just to sit
Yeah.
here
You are
forever
not
and always.
entitled a seat.
So funny story about that. So I ran against an incumbent 2 years ago, and I filed literally like 2 hours before the deadline.
Mhm.
Still faster
I
than
took that
me.
through mess. I literally took Marcy Woodward's playbook off of that.
Like at the very last minute.
I needed 2 days just in case I needed to run around because I needed to have a check
Yeah.
from
Yep.
a campaign
Oh, yes.
account.
Oh, yes.
So you really
Listen,
couldn't.
Oh, I know. So mine was 15 minutes before the deadline. 15 minutes before the office closed at 5 o'clock. My paperwork was filed 4:45 on the last day, and I had that morning.
Is
I
it
opened.
stamped like that?
It's stamped like that. I have a picture of it.
So-
and that morning, I opened my bank account.
Yeah. So I ran against an incumbent.
Like a crazy person.
And I had people ask me, like when they found out I was running against him, He's an NPA. I'm going to be serving on the commission with him now. Fairly well liked, fairly popular. And they're like, you know, someone literally said to me, if I'd known you were planning to run against him, I would have told you not to run. And I said, he's running unopposed. I think every race should have a campaign. Like, there should be a race. And so when I ran unopposed in January, like there were 2 commission seats in the mayor's seat, and nobody filed to run against the 3 of us. And so we all automatically won. And he called me, the one that I ran against 2 years ago, and he congratulated me. And he's like, I thought you said that you didn't think that any race should go uncontested. I was like, I can't control who files to run against me.
Yeah, you absolutely can't.
I was ready to run. I was ready to.
We had a campaign plan.
We had
absolutely.
We were I had volunteers. I had a
It kind of was like deflating a little
like,
bit. We were like,
sad.
wah wah.
I was like gearing myself up. I'm like, oh, here we go again. Let's do this. And then I had a campaign kickoff event scheduled for like 2 days after the qualifying period ended, and it just turned into a celebration,
which was great. But I think we were all, we were gonna.
Yeah.
It was gonna be kind of fun to document it through the
well, I mean,
podcast.
And I think I think both RECs, Breck and Palm Beach County RECs, are really starting to learn of putting, trying to get people in these seats so that they don't run unopposed, and to be able to hold, because like once you have competition, you start to pay attention a little bit more, and like you show up a little earlier. There's just a little bit more accountability, and I think it definitely makes a difference. And then you kind of really earn that spot, by actually doing all of the things, all of the candidate aspects.
It was a difficult experience. I mean, like, it's a constant pressure. It's a constant stress. Like, the whole time you're running, it's like, I got to be doing more. I got to be talking to more voters. I got to be doing more.
You go to bed at night, you're like, did I do enough?
Even going to, like, the local, it's like, I know how you like going to West Palm, but you should probably go to the bar in Royal Palm. Like, Brass Ring Pub. We have Brass Ring Pub in Royal Palm, and so I went, like, yesterday.
I've been there.
My friend was,
it
is.
Great
I like
wings.
it. It's always packed.
Yeah.
And my friend was like, oh, let's meet at Bimini Twist, and I was like, that is just outside Royal Palm.
You're
Beach.
like, nope.
No, we're going pick any place in Royal Palm Beach. We are gonna be wearing our
campaign
t-shirt,
gear.
our campaign t-shirts,
Yeah.
and this is the only condition under which we could go hang out, and we did.
Yeah.
And that's how it rolls.
I know. When I was running,
awesome.
you like to spend. I spent so much more time. I mean, I spend a lot of time in Boca anyway because I'm lazy and I like Boca, and that's why I live there. And so, I did notice, same thing. I'm like, no, let's go to Boca. Let's stay in the city. Let's go in the city. Let's go in the city. And
awesome.
Janine asks if you can annex in Okeechobee west of Salisbury. She wants you to be her mayor.
You'll make that your first choice.
So de-annexation is actually quite an interesting process.
Oh, so you can de-annex?
Mm-hmm.
And how does that happen? You just go, done.
I release you.
That's the word.
I would need to do
Chop it.
because this topic came
Build a
up.
fence.
This topic came up recently. I
Sorry.
would need to check, and maybe Mr. Turkin could elaborate on this. But I want to say it requires a unanimous vote by the council in order to de-annex.
So you just tell those people, bye. You get to go back to county services. Have fun.
Well, if it was up to our state legislature, I think that they would want that.
That's why they did a lot, coming after our home rule, which I did do a little research on actually for Bill's campaign. We were looking at exactly what home rule covers, what it doesn't cover, because the question we got at a candidate forum was on sanctuary cities, and then what would the legislators be able to do if a city in the state of Florida, Miami, decided they wanted to declare themselves a sanctuary city? What could the legislators do to stop that without infringing on home rule? So it was a very interesting conversation that we got into on home rule, and I feel like the legislators need to be reminded what home rule is and remember why it's there.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been a fan of...
Tom said we always joke about taking Ocean Ridge.
Well, I joke about taking over acreage in Loxahatchee. And
You're like,
it's like, would you rather join us or Palm Beach Gardens? I mean, come
take
on.
your pick.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
gosh. Jeez.
And it's so interesting that he mentions Ocean Ridge because it's like Boynton Beach doesn't have an election this year, but Ocean Ridge does.
Yes.
So it's like like those candidates in Ocean Ridge get the short end of the stick, know.
No, because they don't have anything going on. There's,
Yeah, so it's hard. So
But
it's
Ocean
very
Ridge is so cute.
Yeah. It's
Is,
not
is
like
it east
tiny.
of Boynton?
It's
just
north.
east.
Is it east or north?
It's like
It's on the
almost,
it's on the ocean, right?
it's almost
on the-
right
on the
across
coast?
from Boynton.
On
Okay.
the, up, like right there.
Yeah.
Like
Where in relation to Hypoluxo?
It's
gotta be just south,
I'd
right?
have to look at a map.
I'd have to look at a map. Yeah, I've driven through it. multiple times.
Ocean Ridge has 1,452
Oh,
voters.
it's smaller than Lauderdale by the Sea then.
Yeah.
It's a tiny little town, but it's bigger than Tiny Breezes.
Yes.
Briny breezes.
Tiny, briny breezes.
Briny breezes.
Briny
Tiny
breezes.
breezes. I always call
Well,
it.
and remember to incorporate, or at least the way Westlake incorporated, they did it with 5 people.
Yep, 5 people that were
That's
renters.
like Lazy Lake. Lazy
were
Lake in
renters.
Broward.
Mm-hmm.
It's 12 houses.
Okay, so you can do that?
Well, they changed the way after Westlake did it.
Yeah.
But Westlake
They
is
did.
basically Florida's newest municipality.
Yeah.
And JP O'Connor, I don't know if you've met
Yep.
him. Very good guy.
Yeah.
He crosses the border into Royal Palm Beach every now and then.
Yeah. Oh, that's so
Do you
funny.
border Westlake?
No.
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 Okay.
We border Wellington to the south, West Palm Beach to the east, ITID to the north, and Loxahatchee Groves to the west.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, Steve, it's been great to have you on. So how can anybody who's interested in more information about your campaign, voting for you, how do they reach
Donating
you? How
or
do they
volunteering.
Sure. So the website is www.avilaformayor.com.
For like the number
Spelled
four?
out or 4?
Spelled out.
Okay.
Spelled out. FOR.
I went with the number 4 in mine.
And we are on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I've been doing a lot of YouTube ads and
Nice.
getting eyes. I have YouTube Premium, so I've never seen my own ad, but apparently people are watching them though. The
I love
lady,
YouTube ads for political campaigns. I think it's great.
Yeah.
The lady who does my mom's nails, she was telling my mom, "Oh, I saw your son's ad," and then she quoted back when I said, "It doesn't matter if you pronounce it Avila, or Villa. Just make sure you go vote for it." I was like, just like
That's
Mayor Pete,
awesome.
just like Mayor Pete did. So
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Buttigieg?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
did an ad kind of similar to that. So.
That's awesome. Any final comments?
Just that I think our next episode is still during municipals, right? So we'll get
No.
No.
Oh,
Another bonus episode.
no,
So-
it's the 21st.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Okay, so then in that case, go out and vote. Okay, I did have something I wanted to say real quick. I'm going to cram this in. So a lot of people are thinking because now the only person, if you are in an unincorporated part of the county, that you don't need to go vote because the only person still running the campaign is Donald Trump. Or people, when you get your ballot or you go into early vote or vote on election day, that the ballot has all the Republicans still on it. The reason is because a majority, when the ballots were printed, a majority of those all of those candidates that are on there had not withdrawn from the race. They'd only suspended their race. And when a race is suspended, they still have to be put on the ballot because they could still reactivate their campaign.
They're still a
They're
qualified
still a qualified candidate. So that's why you still have a ballot. That's why there's still an election. So one of the reasons, obviously, also the municipalities. But I would encourage you, even if you are not if you're in a municipality and that has an election, 1,000%, please get out and vote. We have to have that turnout for our local government. It is the most important. They're the ones that are closest to us. Please, please do not forget. Take 5, 10, 12 of your friends. Go talk to your neighbors. Did you vote in the election? Vote, vote, vote. If you live in an unincorporated area, I would still encourage you to vote for in the primary because, number one,
Maybe you're
it's
pissed that Nikki dropped out yesterday.
Yeah.
You want a protest vote for her.
go
I
do
don't
a
know.
protest vote, or you have. I've seen people vote who have someone other than Trump, just on the principle of the matter, because that's who they wanted to vote for, and you know what, you need to be true to yourself. But
Yeah.
also, it helps with from the data side, it helps with algorithm. When we're running data and we're looking at who were super voters and who are the super voters are people who voted municipal. So if you don't vote or vote in, presidential preference primaries. So if you don't vote in it, it's going to affect where you can fall in that.
Yeah.
And it might affect being reached by candidates or being reached by PACs or whatever it may be. So if you are someone who normally votes in a presidential preference primary, I would consider still going to vote in it for this cycle.
I turned
just
in my vote by mail
so
ballot.
you can keep your keep that help. It'll just helps from a campaign standpoint. It helps us really know who are the people who are involved and reach those people. So just kind of explain that a little bit. Let us know if you have any questions.
And if you vote, nobody steals your vote. So it's
There's
very
that
good
too.
to vote.
So get your vote by mails, and I think
It was pretty cool. I got text messages and email updates from the Broward SOE throughout the entire process. Like when my vote by mail ballot was on its way to my house.
Oh, really? I
Um,
didn't get that.
yeah, no, they've got this whole ballot track system in Broward now.
Come on, Palm Beach County.
Palm Beach does ballot tracks as well.
But I didn't get mine.
Did you sign up for
Did
it?
you do vote by mail?
I did vote by mail, but I didn't sign up for a ballot
You
check.
got to sign up
You
for
have
ballot
to sign
tracks on the SOE
Oh,
website.
Okay, so it doesn't automatically do you. Okay.
And so then I
Got it.
filled it out and I mailed it, and like it told me, it notified me when it got received at the SOE, and then like once it was like processed.
I'm still probably going to go
Yeah.
vote during early voting because
Yeah,
I
If
like
I had
to-
anything else to vote for,
Yeah.
obviously if I had been on the ballot,
Yeah.
I would have been there, on election day with my signs and my sign waivers out front.
Right.
But since there's no election
Wah,
in Lighthouse
wah.
Point, I know I'm really disappointed I didn't get to see my name on the ballot with Trump and DeSantis and the whole. rest
I
of
know
the
that
crew.
was one reason I wanted to run this last cycle.
Yeah.
I get the name on the ballot situation
it?
would be crazy.
I think it was it Brian the other night at Locals for Liberty? He said he requested his vote by mail ballot, but he's gonna save it as a memento.
Yeah.
Memento, yeah.
With his name on the ballot with
Yeah.
all the things. So
Yeah,
okay, so
that's
we
fair.
know how people can reach you, follow your campaign, donate, get out and door knock for you,
Yeah.
all of that fun stuff, right? Okay, so I didn't mean to derail, but yeah,
No,
that was
you're
one
good.
of the things I thought about. I was like, I got to mention that. Make sure we got to keep our voices out there. Use your voice.
And it was so fun having you tonight.
Yes,
Re-
it
Thank
was.
you so much
Yeah,
for having
thank
me.
you
Thank
for
you so
coming.
much.
Despite
This
all
was
the
fun.
technical
Sorry for the
difficulties,
technical
and we're
difficulties.
gonna have to have you back to teach us all things AI and how to do
Oh
all
my
that
gosh,
stuff.
we'll do a whole episode on AI.
Well, Tom Turkin already saw a little bit of that. He asked me to pull up when was this word said, and I was like,
Oh, that's awesome.
That's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
All right.
Any final things, Abby?
No, I think I
And
spoke
all
my
comments,
piece.
everything's been
Every-
Thanks, Steve, for
um,
pushing buttons in the corner.
Yeah, I think Janine said great interview at the end. So,
awesome.
Thanks for joining us, Janine.
and Tom said you guys are awesome. This was so good. More people need to watch. So organic, funny, and informative. I'll help spread this.
Thank you
Oh,
very
thank
much,
you.
Tom. We
Thank you,
really
Vice Mayor.
appreciate it.
Thank you
Yeah.
so
Yes,
much
thank
for
you, Vice
having me.
Mayor.
We appreciate it. We so appreciate you coming in, Steve. Good luck to you in your
Yes.
Thank you.
election.
Thank
I
you.
want to
Thank
make
you.
sure that we're making sure that we are educating, engaging, and empowering our voters for March 19th. Or remember,
And
early
beyond.
voting is is March 9th through the 17th. Make sure you do your early voters. Don't forget parties at the poll. If you are interested in volunteering for party at the polls or early voting, you can reach out to me through our website and our email address for more information about that. So thank you to our sponsor, Salvo.today. Be sure to check them out. We are on X at We the Locals FL. We are on Facebook, We the Locals. And then we also have our website, WeTheLocalsPodcast.com, where you can find more information. And don't forget to email us with any questions, comments, any information that you want to give us, WeTheLocalsFL@gmail.com. Hope everybody has a great night, everybody, and be sure to stay local.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.